Admiral Taewon Park stood by the large window on the bridge of the UES Defender, his eyes fixed on the stars. The ship was Earth's biggest defense vessel. It floated in space, far from Earth but close enough to watch over it. Taewon was a tall man with gray hair and a face marked by years of service. He wore a blue uniform with gold marks on the shoulders that showed his high rank. "Admiral, we have detected something," said Officer Do-hyun. His voice was steady but had a hint of worry. "Many ships are entering our solar system. They are not ours." Taewon turned from the window. The main screen on the bridge showed many red dots moving toward Earth. There were hundreds of them. "How many?" he asked. "Over 500 ships, sir. They are moving in a pattern. This is not random. This is planned." Taewon felt a chill run down his spine. Humans had only been traveling in space for 30 years. In that time, they had met many alien species. Most were peaceful. Some were not. But none had ever come to Earth with so many ships. Intelligence Officer Ha-Yoon Kim walked quickly to his side. She was young but very smart. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly and her uniform was perfectly neat. "Sir, we have matched their ship designs," she said. "They belong to the Gyeol Empire." She handed him a tablet with information. "They have taken over 12 star systems in the last 10 Earth years. No one has been able to stop them." Taewon looked at the information. The Gyeol were a species from a planet far from Earth. They had been expanding their empire for hundreds of years. They took resources from planets and made the people work for them. They had very advanced weapons. "What do they want here?" Taewon asked. "Based on their past actions, they want Earth, sir," Ha-Eun said. "They want our water, our metals, and our people." The bridge was quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. "They are sending a message," Do-hyun said suddenly. "It's on all radio channels." "Let us hear it," Taewon ordered. A deep voice filled the bridge. The words were translated from the Gyeol language to English. "People of Earth, I am Commander Baekhyun of the Gyeol Empire. Your planet is now part of our empire. Do not resist. Your technology is far behind ours. We will take what we need. You will serve the empire. If you fight, you will die. If you accept, you may live as servants of the empire. You have one Earth day to decide." The message ended. The bridge was silent again. Jiho Lee, Taewon's second in command, stood next to him. Jiho was younger than Taewon but had fought in many battles. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Jiho asked. Taewon thought for a moment. The Gyeol didn't know everything about Earth. They didn't know that humans had been preparing for this day. They didn't know about the hidden weapons and ships. They thought Earth was weak because that's what Earth had wanted everyone to think. "Send them our answer," Taewon said. Do-hyun prepared to send a message back to the Gyeol ships. "This is Admiral Park of Earth," Taewon said clearly. "You have entered our territory without permission. Earth does not want to fight, but we will not be taken over. You have 24 hours to leave our solar system. This is your only warning. If you do not leave, we will defend ourselves," Do-hyun sent the message. The bridge crew looked at each other. Some were scared, some were ready to fight. "Now we wait," Taewon said, "and we prepare." Far away on the biggest Gyeol ship, Commander Baekhyun received Earth's message. He was tall with pale blue skin and 4 arms. His black uniform had many medals that showed his victories. He laughed when he heard the message. "These humans think they can give us orders?" he said to his officers. "They think they can fight the Empire?" His officers laughed with him. They had conquered many worlds. Earth would be just one more. "Their ships are small," said one officer. "Their weapons are simple. They have no chance against us." "Prepare the first attack," Baekhyun ordered. "We will take their space stations first, then move to the planet. By tomorrow, Earth will be ours." What the Gyeol didn't know was that humans had been watching them for years. Humans had seen what happened to other planets that the Gyeol took over. They had studied how the Gyeol fought, and they had made plans. Taewon called President Yoon-hee on Earth. The president was a strong woman who had led Earth for 6 years. "They have made their threat," Taewon told her. "I have given them our warning." "Will they leave?" the president asked. "No, they will attack. They think we are weak." "Then we will show them they are wrong," President Yoon-hee said. "Activate the defense plan." Taewon nodded. "Yes, Madam President." All over Earth, secret commands were sent. In underground bases, hidden ships were prepared. Scientists turned on systems that had been built in secret. Soldiers moved to their positions. Civilians went to safe places deep underground. In a laboratory under the Gobi Desert, Dr. Soo-jin Kang received the command to activate Project Sentinel. She was the lead scientist who had created Earth's most powerful defense system. It was hidden in normal-looking satellites around Earth. "Begin the activation," she told her team, slowly so they don't notice. Her assistant Junseo nodded. "All stations report ready." Under the ocean, General Hyunwoo Choi prepared the attack ships that no one outside Earth knew about. They were small but very powerful. They had weapons that could break down Gyal technology into dust. "Prepare to launch when ordered," he told his pilots. "Remember your training." The pilots nodded. They had trained for years for this moment. In space, engineer Minji checked her special weapons one last time. They were tiny machines smaller than a grain of sand, but they could take apart Gyal ships piece by piece. "The nanites are ready," she reported to Taewon. "They will target only Gyal technology, not the Gyal themselves." On his ship, Commander Baekhyun watched Earth through a large screen. He could see the small defense ships and simple satellites. He didn't see anything that worried him. "They are so primitive," he said. "This will be my easiest victory." His science officer looked at some readings. "Sir, I'm detecting some strange energy patterns from Earth." "It's nothing," Baekhyun said. "Just their simple technology. Prepare to attack when their time is up." The science officer wasn't sure. Something didn't seem right. But he followed orders. On the UES Defender, Taewon and his crew waited. The clock was counting down the hours until the Gyal's time was up. "All Earth ships report ready," Jiho told him. "All defense systems are active." Taewon nodded. "Now we see if our preparations were enough." The hours passed slowly. The Gyal ships moved closer to Earth. They formed attack groups ready to strike. They thought they were facing a simple planet with basic defenses. They thought this would be an easy victory, like many before. They were wrong. Earth had given them one warning. Soon they would learn why that was enough. 6 hours had passed since Earth gave its warning to the Gyal Empire. In a large underground lab beneath the Gobi Desert, Dr. Sujin Kang worked fast. She was a small woman with short black hair and quick hands. For 15 years, she had led Project Sentinel, Earth's secret defense system. The lab was filled with screens showing Earth and the space around it. Scientists moved around checking systems and talking in low voices. They had waited years for this day, hoping it would never come. "All defense grid stations report ready," said Junseo, Sujin's assistant. He was young with round glasses and a serious face. "The satellites are in position," Sujin nodded. "Begin power-up sequence. Keep it slow. We don't want them to notice until it's too late." What looked like normal weather and communication satellites around Earth were actually parts of a powerful defense system. They contained technology that could create a shield around the planet. But the Gyal didn't know this. To them, Earth's satellites looked simple and weak. "The Gyal ships are moving closer," Junseo reported. "They will be in attack range in 5 hours. Sujin took a deep breath. "Then we need to be ready in 4. Deep under the Pacific Ocean, in a base hidden from the rest of the galaxy, General Hyunwoo Choi prepared Earth's attack fleet. The underwater hangar was huge, filled with ships that no alien had ever seen. They were smaller than the Gyal ships, but much more advanced. "All systems check complete," reported a young officer. "The EMP weapons are charged. The nanite launchers are loaded." Hyunwoo nodded. He was a tall man with a scar across his cheek from an old battle. "Prepare for launch on my command." The crew worked quickly. They had trained for this moment for years. Earth had decided long ago not to show its true strength to the galaxy. While other planets showed off their military power, Earth had hidden its best technology. They knew that one day, a species like the Gyal would come. In an orbital station above Earth, engineer Minji finished her work on the nanite control system. The nanites were tiny machines, each smaller than a dust particle. But together they could take apart Gyal ships piece by piece without hurting the aliens inside. "Final programming complete," Minji said to her team. "The nanites will target only Gyal technology. Life support systems will be left working." Her second-in-command, a man named Dae-jung, looked at the screen showing the Gyal fleet. "There are so many of them," Minji nodded. "Yes, but they all use the same technology. That's their weakness. Our nanites can affect all their ships the same way." That was what Earth had discovered about the Gyal. They had conquered so many worlds so easily that they had stopped improving their technology. All their ships were the same. All their weapons worked the same way. They had no reason to change what had always worked before, but humans had studied them. For years, small Earth ships had watched Gyal conquests from far away. They had scanned Gyal technology and found its weaknesses. Then they had built weapons specifically to exploit those weaknesses. In the presidential bunker deep under Seoul, President Yoon-hee met with the United Earth Council. The council included leaders from all parts of Earth. They sat around a large table, faces serious. "The Gyal will not leave," President Yoon-hee told them. "They have never retreated before. They see us as an easy target. Are our defenses ready?" asked the representative from Africa. President Yoon-hee nodded. "Yes, for 2 generations we have prepared for this day. We studied their conquests. We learned their tactics. We found their weaknesses. We appear weak because that's what survival demanded, but they will learn that appearances can be deceiving." "What about the civilians?" asked the representative from South America. "The underground shelters are at 89% capacity," reported the defense minister. "By the time the Gyal attack, all citizens will be safe." Across Earth, people moved to underground shelters. These were not simple bunkers, but large complexes with everything needed for people to live comfortably for months if necessary. The shelters had been built over decades, always disguised as something else so that aliens wouldn't know about them. On the UES Defender, Admiral Tae-Wan Park watched the Gyal fleet on the main screen. They were organizing into attack formation. "They're getting ready," said Ji-ho Lee standing beside him. Tae-Wan nodded. "Yes, just as we expected. They always follow the same pattern. First, they will try to take our orbital stations. Then they will attack military targets on the ground. Then they will demand surrender." "But we won't surrender," Ji-ho said. "No, we won't." On the lead Gyal ship, Commander Baekhyun studied the Earth defenses with disappointment. He had forearms crossed over his chest, his blue skin reflecting the light from the screens around him. "Is this all they have?" he asked his tactical officer. "A few small ships and some simple satellites? No planetary shield? No weapon platforms?" The tactical officer checked his readings again. "That's all our sensors show, Commander. Their technology is at least a century behind ours." Baekhyun shook his head. "This will be too easy. It's almost disappointing." His science officer, a Gyal named Tai-ik, looked troubled. "Sir, I'm detecting some unusual energy patterns from those satellites. They might be more than they appear." Baekhyun waved a hand dismissively. "You're being too cautious. We've conquered 12 systems. Each one was more advanced than Earth. None could stand against us." "Yes, Commander," Tae-ik said, but he still looked worried. Baekhyun turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to their Admiral Park. Tell him he has only 6 hours left to surrender. Perhaps he will be wise enough to save his people some suffering." The message was sent to the UES Defender. When Taiwan heard it, he smiled slightly. "No response needed," he told Do-hyun. "They'll have their answer soon enough." As the hours passed, Earth's true defenses continued to power up, hidden from Gyal sensors. The satellites in orbit slowly linked together, forming an invisible network. In the underwater base, pilots prepared to launch their ships. In labs around the world, scientists made final adjustments to weapons that the Gyal couldn't imagine. Dr. Soo-jin checked the power levels of the quantum defense grid. 92% and rising, she said to Junseo. "We'll be at full power before they attack." Junseo looked nervous but determined. "Do you think it will work?" "Our simulations were good, but this is the real thing." Soo-jin put a hand on his shoulder. "It will work. We've spent 15 years making sure it will work." General Hyunwoo addressed his pilots before they boarded their ships. "The Gyal think they are hunters," he told them. "They think we are prey. Today they will learn that they have been stalking a predator." The pilots cheered. They were ready to defend their home. Engineer Minji ran final tests on her nanites. Each one was programmed to target specific parts of Gyal technology. Some would disable weapons, some would disrupt shields, some would interfere with engines. Together, they would render the Gyal fleet helpless without killing a single alien. "Nanite swarm ready for deployment," she reported to Admiral Tae-wan. "Good," he replied. "Stand by for my order." On the Gyal flagship, Commander Baekhyun grew impatient. "They've had enough time," he told his officers. "Prepare the first attack wave. We'll take their orbital platforms now." "But sir," Tae-ik objected, "they still have several hours left by your own deadline." Baekhyun laughed. "Do you think I care about their time? I only gave them the deadline to watch them panic. They can't stop us whether we attack now or later." Tae-ik looked uncomfortable but said nothing more. "First attack wave. Launch," Baekhyun ordered. 100 Gyal ships broke from the main fleet and moved toward Earth. They were sleek and deadly, armed with weapons that had destroyed the defenses of many worlds. On the UES Defender, alarm sounded. "Sir, they're launching an attack," Hyun reported. 100 ships moving in fast. Taiwan wasn't surprised. "They're impatient. They always are." He turned to Jiho. "Is everything ready?" Jiho nodded. "Yes, Admiral." "All systems are go." Taiwan took a deep breath. The moment had come. Earth had given the Gyal one warning. They had chosen not to take it. Now they would face the consequences. "Send the signal," he ordered. "Activate Sentinel Protocol." Jiho pressed a sequence of buttons on his console. Signal sent. Across Earth and in orbit, hidden systems came to life. The true defense of humanity was about to reveal itself, and the Gyal Empire was about to learn why they should have heeded Earth's one warning. The Gyal attack ships moved toward Earth. They were fast and deadly. On their bridges, Gyal officers felt sure of victory. They had conquered many worlds before. Earth would be no different. On the UES Defender, Admiral Taewon Park watched the enemy ships approach. His face was calm, but inside he felt the weight of what was about to happen. "They're entering orbital defense range," Officer Ha-Yun reported. "Exactly as our intelligence predicted. Standard Gyal attack pattern." Taewon nodded. "They've conquered too easily for too long. They never needed to change their ways." He turned to his second-in-command. "Jiho, is the Sentinel Protocol active?" Jiho checked his screen. "Yes, Admiral." "All systems report ready." Taewon took a deep breath. "Then it's time. Activate the quantum defense grid." In her underground lab, Dr. Sujin Kang received the command. She pressed her hand against a scanner and spoke clearly. "Authorization Kang, Sujin. Activate quantum grid." Around her, scientists moved quickly, typing commands and checking readings. The lab hummed with energy. "Grid activation starting," Junseo reported. "Power levels rising." In space, the ordinary-looking satellites around Earth began to change. Panels opened to reveal hidden technology. Energy began to flow between them, forming connections. On the lead Gyal attack ship, the science officer noticed the change. "Sir, the Earth satellites are changing," the Gyal captain laughed. "Their primitive defenses are no match for our weapons." "Fire!" The Gyal ships fired their main weapons. Beams of energy shot toward Earth. They had destroyed the defenses of many worlds with these weapons. But something strange happened. The beams hit what seemed like an invisible wall around Earth. The energy spread out along the wall like water on glass. "What is happening?" the Gyal captain demanded. Around Earth, the quantum defense grid was now fully active. It was based on quantum entanglement, a science that the Gyal had never mastered. The grid created a shield that could absorb energy and redirect it. On the UES Defender, Taewon allowed himself a small smile. "Status of the grid? Holding at 100%, Jiho reported. No damage. The Gyal weapons are being absorbed." In the Gobi Desert lab, Sujin watched the readings with satisfaction. "The grid is working perfectly. Energy absorption is stable." Junseo looked at another screen. "What should we do with the absorbed energy?" Sujin's eyes gleamed. "Send it back to them." On her command, the quantum grid began to redirect the energy it had absorbed. The invisible shield around Earth glowed for a moment. Then beams of energy shot out toward the Gyal ships. The Gyal were caught completely by surprise. Their shields were not designed to handle their own weapons turned against them. Evasive action. The Gyal captain shouted, but it was too late. The redirected energy hit the Gyal ships. Their shields flickered and failed. On the Gyal flagship, Commander Baekhyun watched in shock as his first attack wave was stopped. Impossible. Their technology was primitive. His science officer, Tai-Ik, studied the readings. "Sir, we're detecting technology signatures unlike anything in our database. They have capabilities we didn't know about." Baekhyun slammed his fist on his chair. "Send the second wave." "All weapons!" 200 more Gyal ships moved toward Earth. They fired all their weapons at once, trying to overpower the shield. In the underwater base, General Hyunwoo Choi received word that the quantum grid was holding. "It's time," he told his pilots. "Launch!" The floor of the ocean opened. From hidden underwater hangars, Earth's secret fleet emerged. The ships were smaller than the Gyal vessels, but much more advanced. They rose through the water and shot into the sky. General Hyunwoo's voice came through on all Earth channels. "All ships, deploy nanite disruptors and targeted EMP weapons. Remember your training. From orbit, engineer Minji activated her nanite control system, releasing nanite swarms. From Earth's ships, clouds of tiny machines spread toward the Gyal fleet. They were so small they couldn't be seen by the naked eye, but they carried Earth's most advanced technology. The nanites reached the first Gyal ships. They attached to the hulls and began to work their way inside. They were programmed to dismantle Gyal technology piece by piece. On one Gyal ship, alarms began to sound. "Sir, weapon systems failing." A Gyal officer reported in panic. "Shields are collapsing. Engines shutting down." The Gyal captain didn't understand what was happening. Nothing on his screen showed what was attacking his ship. But one by one, systems were failing. The same thing was happening across the Gyal fleet. Ships began to drift, their engines dead. Weapons went silent. Communications failed. On the flagship, Commander Baekhyun received desperate messages from his fleet. "Something is attacking our ships. Can't see it. Systems failing." The messages cut off one by one as communication systems failed. "What is happening?" Baekhyun demanded. Tae-ik studied the readings. "Sir, I'm detecting millions of tiny machines attacking our fleet. They're taking our ships apart." Baekhyun couldn't believe it. "How is this possible? Their technology should be far behind ours." "They hid their true capabilities," Tae-ik said quietly. "We underestimated them." On the UES Defender, Taewon watched as the Gyal fleet began to fall apart. Nanite swarms operating at full efficiency, Ha-Yun reported. 300 Gyal ships disabled and counting. "Any casualties?" Taewon asked. "None reported, sir. The nanites are avoiding life support systems as programmed." Taewon nodded with satisfaction. Earth had decided long ago that they would defend themselves without unnecessary killing. The nanites would disable the Gyal ships but leave the crews alive. "Prepare rescue teams," he ordered. "Once the ships are fully disabled, we'll evacuate the Gyal crews." Earth ships moved among the disabled Gyal vessels. They extended docking tubes and began to evacuate the confused and frightened Gyal. On his flagship, Commander Baekhyun watched in horror as more of his fleet was disabled. Of the 300 ships in his first and second attack waves, most were now drifting helplessly. "Retreat," he ordered the remaining ships. "Pull back to the Mars orbital line." But it was too late for many of them. The nanite swarms had already attached to their hulls and were working their way in. Ships trying to retreat found their engines failing before they could get away. In her lab, Sujin watched the battle with mixed feelings. She was glad their defenses were working, but sad that they had been needed at all. "The quantum grid is holding," Jun Seo reported. "No damage to Earth or our orbital stations." Sujin nodded. "Begin expanding the grid. Push it out to the Mars orbital path." The quantum defense grid began to grow outward from Earth, expanding its protection. Engineer Minji monitored her nanite swarms. "The nanites are performing even better than in our tests. Gyal ships are being disabled without harming the crews." Her assistant Daejong looked at the screen showing the disabled Gyal fleet. "They never expected this. They thought we were easy prey." Minji nodded. "That was our plan all along. To seem weak until we needed to be strong." On Earth, President Yoon-hee addressed the United Earth Council. "Phase 1 is complete. The first Gyal attack has been stopped." "And the rest of their fleet?" asked a council member. "We will give them one more chance to leave," the president said. "If they refuse, we will disable their entire fleet." On the UES Defender, Taewon received a communication request from the Gyal flagship. "Put it on screen," he ordered. Commander Baekhyun's face appeared. His blue skin was darker with anger, his forearms gesturing wildly. "What have you done to my ships?" he demanded. "This attack will not go unpunished. The full might of the Gyal Empire will descend on your world." Taewon remained calm. "We gave you one warning. You chose to ignore it. What you're seeing is just a small demonstration of our capabilities. You cannot defeat the Empire. We have conquered 12 systems. We have thousands of ships. And we have studied every one of those conquests," Taewon replied. "We know your tactics. We know your technology. We know your weaknesses." Baekhyun was speechless for a moment. Then he growled, "This is not over. You will regret defying the Empire." The communication cut off. Jiho looked at Taewon. "He still doesn't understand, does he?" Taewon shook his head. "No. The Gyal have been the strongest for so long they can't imagine being beaten. But they will learn." Across the solar system, hidden human outposts on moons and asteroids activated. What the Gyal had thought was a species limited to one planet was actually spread throughout their solar system. On the dark side of Earth's moon, Colonel Jae-sung's stealth ships powered up. They had been hiding there, invisible to Gyal sensors. All ships report ready, Jae-sung's officer told him. Jae-sung nodded. Good. Target the Gyal flagship's communications array. Let's cut them off from their empire. As the Gyal fleet regrouped, they had no idea that Earth's counterattack was just beginning. Humans had given them one warning. Now they would show the Gyal Empire why that should have been enough. Commander Baekhyun stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as his fleet fell apart. 300 of his ships were disabled, their crews being evacuated by Earth vessels. His blue skin had turned almost gray with shock. How is this possible? He asked no one in particular. They were supposed to be primitive. His science officer, Tae-ik, worked frantically at his console. Sir, I'm analyzing their technology now. It's remarkable. They have advances in fields we've never explored. Before Baekhyun could respond, a new officer rushed onto the bridge. It was Jin-ho, the Emperor's personal representative. He had arrived via emergency transport from the rear of the fleet. Commander, Jin-ho shouted. Explain this disaster immediately. Jin-ho wore the golden uniform of the imperial court. His forearms were decorated with jeweled bands showing his high rank. His face was twisted with anger. Baekhyun bowed low. Emissary Jin-ho, we encountered unexpected resistance. The humans have technology we didn't know about. Jin-ho sneered. Impossible. Our intelligence reports showed they were at least a century behind us. The reports were wrong, Tae-ik said, then flinched when Jin-ho glared at him. They hid their true capabilities, Baekhyun explained. They have weapons that can disable our ships without destroying them. They have a shield that our weapons cannot penetrate. Jin-ho paced the bridge, all four arms clasped behind his back. The Emperor will not accept failure, Commander. You promised an easy conquest. We can still win, Baekhyun insisted. We have more ships. We will adjust our tactics. At that moment, alarms blared across the flagship. Sir, a Gyal officer called out. New ships detected. They're coming from behind Earth's moon. On the main screen, they saw small, sleek vessels appearing from the dark side of the moon. They moved incredibly fast, heading straight for the Gyal fleet. More deception, Jin-ho hissed. They had ships hiding there all along. From the UES Defender, Admiral Taewon Park watched as Colonel Jae-sung's stealth fleet joined the battle. Stealth fleet reports all systems go, Officer Ha-yun told him. They are targeting the Gyal flagship communications array. Taewon nodded. Good, let's isolate them from their empire. The less help they can call, the better. The stealth ships fired precise beams that hit the Gyal flagship's communication towers. The beams didn't damage the rest of the ship, just the parts that let it talk to other ships far away. On the flagship, Jin-ho felt the slight shudder as the communications array was hit. What was that? He demanded. A Gyal officer checked his screen, then looked up with fear in his eyes. Sir, long-range communications are down. We can't contact the Empire. Jin-ho turned to Baekhyun, his voice cold. You said they were primitive. Baekhyun had no answer. Across the solar system, more human forces revealed themselves. On Mars, hidden bases activated. In the asteroid belt, disguised human outposts powered up. What the Gyal had thought was a species limited to one planet was actually spread throughout the solar system. In her lab, under the Gobi Desert, Dr. Su-jin Kang received reports from these outposts. All solar system defensive positions report active, Jun Seo told her. The Gyal are surrounded, Su-jin nodded. Expand the quantum grid to Mars orbit. The invisible shield around Earth grew outward, pushing toward the red planet. General Hyun-woo Choi led his ships toward the remaining Gyal fleet. Form attack pattern Delta, he ordered. Target their engine systems first. His ships spread out in a precise formation. They fired not normal weapons but specialized beams that affected only Gyal engine technology. More Gyal ships began to drift, unable to move. Engineer Minji directed her nanite swarms toward the larger Gyal vessels. Focus on their weapon systems, she told her team. Disable rather than destroy. The tiny machines spread like mist among the Gyal ships. Where they touched, systems failed. Weapons went silent. Shields collapsed. On Earth, President Yoon-hee watched the battle from her command center. How many Gyal ships remain operational? She asked. Less than half their fleet, Madam President, her military advisor reported. And more are being disabled every minute. Yoon-hee nodded. Prepare the final phase. On the UES Defender, Taiwan received the president's order. It's time, he told Jiho. Initiate Phase 3. Jiho nodded and sent the command to all Earth forces. Colonel Jae Sung received the order on his stealth ship. About time, he said with a smile. Deploy the data probes. From his ship, small drones shot toward the disabled Gyal vessels. They attached to the hulls and began to extract information from the ship's computers. On the Gyal flagship, which was still operational, but could not communicate with the Empire, Taeyek noticed something new. Sir, the humans are downloading our data, he reported with disbelief. What? Jinho shouted. Stop them. I can't, Taeyek said. Our security systems are being bypassed. They're taking everything. Star charts, fleet deployments, defense plans, everything. This was the final part of Earth's plan. For years, humans had studied Gyal conquest patterns. They knew the Gyal kept detailed information about their entire empire on their ships. Now they were taking that information. The data streamed to Earth's ships and bases. It showed the location of every Gyal world, every fleet, every base. It revealed the weaknesses in Gyal defenses. It was a complete map of the empire. In her lab, Sujin watched the data flow in. This is more than we hoped for, she said to Junseo. With this, we can protect not just Earth, but help other worlds resist the Gyal. Junseo looked troubled. Do you think they'll retreat now? Sujin's face was serious. If they're wise, they will. On the Gyal flagship, Jinho was in a rage. We cannot accept defeat. The Empire has never lost. Baekhyun looked at the tactical display. Half his fleet was disabled. Earth ships moved among them, rescuing Gyal crews. The humans could have destroyed them all, but instead they were saving lives. Sir, he said carefully to Jinho, I believe we should consider withdrawal. Jinho stared at him in shock. Withdrawal? The Empire does not withdraw. We conquer or we die. Taeyek spoke up. Emissary, our ships are being disabled faster than we can react. Their technology is beyond what we expected, and they appear to have bases throughout this system. Jinho paced the bridge, all four hands clenched into fists. There must be a way to win. There is not, Baekhyun said quietly. Not today. Perhaps if we return with more knowledge, more ships. Jinho stopped pacing. His face showed he was thinking hard. The Empire had never retreated before, but it had never faced a species like humans before. The Emperor will not be pleased, he said finally. The Emperor would be less pleased if we lost the entire fleet, Baekhyun pointed out. Jinho was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Prepare what ships remain for withdrawal. But this is not over. The Empire will return. On the UES Defender, Hayun reported, Sir, the remaining Gyal ships are changing formation. They appear to be preparing to leave. Taewon nodded. They finally understood. Continue disabling any ships that remain aggressive, but allow those withdrawing to leave. Jiho looked at him. Should we pursue? No, Taewon said. Our goal was defense, not conquest. We've shown them we cannot be taken. Let them go home with that lesson. As the remaining Gyal ships began to move away from Earth, rescue operations continued for the disabled vessels. Earth ships docked with the powerless Gyal craft, taking the crews to safety before the nanites completely dismantled their technology. The Gyal were confused by this kindness. They had expected to be killed if defeated. Instead, the humans were saving them. On one disabled ship, a Gyal officer asked his human rescuer, Why do you help us? We came to conquer you. The human, a woman named Subin, smiled slightly. Because that's what humans do. We fight when we must, but we save lives when we can. On Earth, people began to emerge from the underground shelters. They looked up at the sky, knowing that their world had faced its greatest threat and survived. President Yoon-hee prepared to address the planet. Today, she would tell them, humanity showed that we can defend ourselves without becoming like those who threatened us. We gave one warning. It should have been enough. In space, the remaining Gyal ships reached the edge of the solar system. They prepared their engines for the long journey home. Commander Baekhyun looked back at the blue planet growing smaller behind them. We misjudged them, he said quietly. The Empire doesn't misjudge, Jinho insisted. We were deceived, perhaps, Baekhyun said, but the result is the same. We learned a valuable lesson today. Some warnings should be heeded. As the Gyal ships disappeared into deep space, Admiral Taewon Park stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, looking at the stars. Do you think they'll come back? Jiho asked him. Taewon considered the question. Not soon, and when they do, they'll come as visitors, not conquerors. Earth had given the Gyal Empire one warning. Now the galaxy would know that one warning from Earth was enough. 3 days had passed since the Gyal fleet retreated from Earth. Admiral Taewon Park stood on the observation deck of the UES Defender, looking at the stars. The ship was quiet now. The battle was over. A door opened behind him and Intelligence Officer Ha-Yun Kim entered. She carried a data tablet. Admiral, I have the final reports, she said. Taewon turned from the window. Go ahead. The last Gyal ship has left our solar system, Ha-Yun reported. Our long-range sensors show them heading straight back to Gyal territory. And our people? All defense systems are being returned to standby mode. The quantum grid is powered down but ready to activate again if needed. The nanite swarms have been recalled. General Hyunwoo's fleet has returned to base. Civilian casualties 0. Taewon nodded, relieved. Their plan had worked perfectly. Earth had defended itself without losing a single life, human or Gyal. And the Gyal crew members? He asked. All rescued from disabled ships, Ha-Yun said. We've treated their injured. They will be returned to the Empire via neutral transport next week. This had been an important part of Earth's plan, to show mercy, even in victory. Humans had decided long ago that when they finally revealed their true strength to the galaxy, they would do so with honor. Sir, Ha-Yun continued, there's something else. The data we collected from the Gyal ships, it's more valuable than we expected. She handed him the tablet. Taewon looked at the information and his eyes widened. This is a complete map of the Empire, he said. Every world, every fleet, every base. Ha-Yun nodded. And more. We found records of 12 other species currently under Gyal control. Worlds that were conquered just like they tried to conquer us. Taewon thought about that. 12 species, 12 worlds, suffering under Gyal rule because they hadn't been able to defend themselves. We should help them, he said quietly. That would mean revealing ourselves fully to the galaxy. Ha-Yun pointed out. No more hiding our true capabilities. Perhaps it's time. The observation deck door opened again and Jiho Lee entered. Admiral, the President is calling. The Galactic Council has requested an emergency meeting. The Galactic Council was made up of representatives from the known spacefaring species. Earth had a seat but had rarely spoken up until now. I'll take it in my office, Taewon said. In his private office, Taewon accepted the call. President Yoon-hee's face appeared on his screen. Admiral, congratulations again on your successful defense of Earth, she said. Thank you, Madam President. But the credit belongs to all of us who prepared for this day. President Yoon-hee nodded. The Galactic Council is in an uproar. The Gyal representative has formally complained about our deception. They claim we violated galactic norms by hiding our true technological capabilities. Taewon couldn't help but smile at the irony. They plan to conquer us and they're complaining that we didn't make it easier for them? Exactly, the president said. But more importantly, representatives from several independent worlds have requested our help. They fear they may be next on the Gyal's list. Taewon thought about the data they had collected, and the 12 worlds already under Gyal control. What about them? President Yoon-hee's face grew serious. That's why I'm calling. The council will meet in 3 days. I need to know what to tell them about Earth's intentions going forward. It was a big question. For generations, humans had hidden their true capabilities. They had appeared to be just one more emerging species, watching and learning, while secretly preparing their defenses. Now the galaxy knew the truth. Earth was more powerful than anyone had guessed. What would they do with that power? I'll need to consult with the defense team, Taewon said. But my personal opinion is that we should offer assistance to any world threatened by the Gyal. The president nodded. I agree, but we must be careful not to become conquerors ourselves. Never, Taewon said firmly. That's not who we are. After the call ended, Taewon called a meeting of Earth's defense leaders. They gathered on the UES Defender. Dr. Soo-Jin Kang from Project Sentinel, General Hyun-Woo Choi from the fleet, Engineer Min-ji from the nanite program, Colonel Jae-sung from the stealth ships, and others who had helped create Earth's hidden defenses. The president has asked for our recommendation on how to proceed, Taewon told them. The galaxy now knows our true capabilities. The question is, what do we do with that knowledge? General Hyun-Woo spoke first. We should establish a clear defensive perimeter around our solar system. Make it known that we will not tolerate any more threats. Agreed, Colonel Jae-sung said. But we should also reach out to other independent worlds. Form alliances. Dr. Sujin looked thoughtful. What about the species already under Gyol control? Do we just leave them to their fate? The room grew quiet as everyone considered this difficult question. Engineer Minji finally spoke up. My nanites can be adapted to help those worlds. They could disable Gyol technology without a direct military confrontation. Taewon nodded. But that would mean directly challenging the Gyol Empire. It could lead to war. They already brought war to us, General Hyunwoo pointed out. And we defeated them. We defeated one fleet, Taewon corrected. The Empire has many more. Dr. Sujin studied the data tablet in front of her. According to the information we gathered, the Empire is overstretched. They've conquered too many worlds too quickly. Their control is thin in many places. So a little push might be enough, Colonel Jae-sung suggested. Taewon considered all their points. It was a complex situation with no easy answers. But one thing was clear. Earth could no longer remain hidden and quiet in the galaxy. Here's what I will recommend to the President, he finally said. First, we establish a clear defense of our system. Second, we offer alliance and protection to independent worlds who request it. Third, we provide technical assistance to species under Gyol control who want to resist. And if the Gyol object? General Hyunwoo asked. We remind them that we gave them one warning, Taewon said simply. They chose not to heed it. The consequences are still unfolding. Everyone nodded in agreement. The plan was bold but measured. It was about defense and freedom, not conquest. 3 days later, President Yoon-hee addressed the Galactic Council. Representatives from 27 spacefaring species listened as she explained Earth's new position. For generations, humans have watched and learned, she told them. We saw how the Gyol Empire expanded through conquest. We prepared our defenses accordingly. When they came to Earth, we gave them one warning. They ignored it and learned that was a mistake. The Gyol representative, a high-ranking noble named Woo Jin, stood up in protest. Earth concealed its true capabilities. This is against galactic norms. President Yoon-hee looked at him calmly. Is conquest part of galactic norms, Representative Woo Jin? Is forcing other species to serve you part of galactic norms? Woo Jin had no answer to that. Earth will now take its place openly in galactic affairs, President Yoon-hee continued. We offer alliance and protection to any independent world that wishes it. We offer technical assistance to any world seeking to regain its freedom. The chamber erupted in voices. Some representatives applauded. Others looked worried. The Gyol representative sat down, his blue face dark with anger. A representative from a small world called Narration stood up. My people have lived in fear of Gyol expansion for years. We would welcome Earth's alliance. Others followed, expressing similar sentiments. By the end of the session, 17 worlds had requested alliance with Earth. 1 month later, Admiral Taewon Park stood on the bridge of the UES Defender as it orbited a planet called Lysria. This world had been under Gyol control for 20 years. Now its people were rising up, using technology provided by Earth to disable the Gyol ships and bases on their world. The Lysrian resistance reports that the last Gyol stronghold has fallen, Ha-un reported. The planet is free, Taewon nodded. And the Gyol personnel? Being treated well and will be returned to the Empire as we advised. That was important to Taewon. He didn't want the liberated worlds to become like their former oppressors. Similar uprisings were happening across the Gyol Empire. Without firing a shot, Earth was helping to dismantle an empire built on conquest. The Gyol were retreating from world after world, unable to maintain their control in the face of technology designed specifically to counter theirs. 3 months after the Battle of Earth, as it was now being called, the Gyol Emperor sent a message to President Yoon-hee. He requested peace talks. In a grand hall on a neutral world, representatives from Earth and the Gyol Empire met. Admiral Taewon attended with President Yoon-hee. Across the table sat the Gyol Emperor himself, along with Commander Baekhyun and Emissary Jin-ho. We are prepared to recognize the independence of 12 worlds formerly under our protection, the Emperor said, trying to save face by not using the word control. All 12, President Yoon-hee countered. And a formal agreement that the Empire will not expand through conquest again. The Emperor's four hands clenched, but he had no choice. His empire was falling apart. Agreed, he said finally. As the details were being worked out, Commander Baekhyun approached Admiral Tae-wan during a break. You could have destroyed us, Baekhyun said quietly. Why didn't you? Tae-wan looked at the Gyo commander. Because that's not who we are.